Hello and welcome to another video from the History Tutor. And today we're looking at the conflict and tension topic, 1918 to 1945, and particularly the Manchurian Crisis. Well, thank you for joining me for this session. And we are going to look mainly at the Manchurian Crisis today, and in particular, the writing account skill. Many students find this very challenging. So we're going to break that question down later on and look at how to answer that question to a top-level answer. But firstly, you may want to revise your Manchurian Crisis knowledge. So do have a look at my YouTube video on the story of the Manchurian Crisis, and then come back and see how well you've learned it. And to do that, we're going to have a quiz, first of all. So here is our quiz. 10 factual questions to test your knowledge. So do pause now and see how many of them you can answer. Okay, had enough time? So let's go through the answers. So question number one, name the territory next to Manchuria that belonged to Japan. And the answer is Korea. So Japan was keen to develop an empire at this time. We've got to think about question 2 here to reasons why they're keen to develop this empire. So Japan was suffering due to the Great Depression, which important trade seen price drop by a fifth by the silk trade. And so Japan was really suffering during the Depression and they needed to maintain their markets. So obviously seizing control of Korea and then into Manchuria, where they had some important industry, was a crucial aspect of this for the motives of Japan, which incident led to Japanese invasion of the Manchuria. So the Mukden incident, obviously that is part of their railway. As question 4 suggests, what was attacked in the incident? It was the South Manchurian Railway. So the Japanese had a railway going from Korea into Manchuria, and it was to support their factories and industry that were developing in Manchuria. Obviously, they want to protect that. So question number 5, when did the Japanese invade Manchuria? So September 931. So it's an important date to know it's September 931. Who led the investigation of the Manchurian Crisis? So Lord Lytton, and Lord Lytton didn't like to fly, and that's important. Where did Japan attack in March 1932? So they attacked further into China with the attack on Shanghai. And so they're starting to build this empire, build this Chinese empire for trade, for prestige, to distract from the Great Depression. So when did the League publish its report into Manchuria? So September 1932. So therefore, you have between question 5 and 8 there, you have an entire year it takes the League to make a decision on the Manchurian Crisis. So what was the score of the League's vote on Japan leaving? So 42 to 1. So 42 to 1 vote for Japan to leave the League because it would not accept its punishment. It would not leave Manchuria. It was a key permanent member of the council, and yet it refused to leave and show peace. Therefore, was booted out. So what did Japan do then in February 1933 in reaction to blaming them? Obviously, it did leave the League. So Japan has left the League. The major power in the East has gone. Here is our write an account question, and it's write an account of how the Manchurian Crisis weakened the League of Nations. And now I'd like to think about this first. What are the important words? How would you answer this question? What are your thoughts about it? Have a think for a moment. Imagine you're in the exam. Have a think about it. So again, you take a pause and have a think. Okay, had enough time? So here are some of the important things I think about this question. Firstly, ignore the phrase write an account of. Ignore it. Think about the word explain. Explain how the Manchurian Crisis weakened the League. Okay, don't worry about writing an account. Just ignore it, really. There is some minor details to it, which I'll come back to in a sec. Obviously, it's 8 marks. So now we know we're explaining it's 2 peel paragraphs. Make sure you give examples from the Manchurian Crisis. That's what it's asking you to talk about. Then explain how it weakened the League. That is what the question wants. That is the write an account aspect of this. Give an example of the event, give the impact. So if you're writing a story about an incident, you would say this happened and then this happened afterwards. That's what it's asking you to do. But we need to explain, so we can't write a story. Okay, so therefore, this leads us to this sort of idea. We want an event and then how that weakened the League. We want another event and how that weakened the League. And that is our 2 paragraphs. So have a think now yourself. What event of the Manchurian Crisis happened? how that weaken the league. Maybe an event actually within the crisis itself, how that weaken the league. Then maybe a later event, maybe at the end of a crisis, and then how that weaken the league. There's a couple of hints for you there. So think about the quiz we just did. There are the ideas in the quiz. So again, pause and have a think. All right, so next, here's the ideas then. So an event might be the Japanese invading Manchuria. Pretty simple event. How has weakened the league? Japan was a permanent member of the league. This undermined the covenant of the league. Again, the major powers, like the 1920s, were doing what they liked and getting away with it. Event, the Manchurian Crisis. What other event? Lord Lytton took a whole year to deal with it. That's a bit rubbish. So the league was too slow and unable to solve problems far away from Europe. They needed America. America was not in the league. So now also you could take that further. Japan is the only power in the East now, and they're going to leave the league. How weak is the league going to be in the East? It's going to be struggling to solve world problems. Right, so we can start to now turn this into an answer. So again, we're back to our Peel-style paragraphs. One way the Manchurian Crisis weakened the league was, give your argument, give an example from the Manchurian Crisis. For example, Lord Lytton took a whole year to organise and to deal with it. This weakened the league because they were slow, ineffective. Furthermore, Japan left the league. So you can start to build an argument, build an answer. So let's have a go at this together. So you can work with me and you can have a piece of paper or work through a revision guide and explain your answer, or you can just listen to me talk about it. Okay, so if you're working with me, pause at each stage and you can write your own argument. If it's slightly different to mine, don't worry. Okay, the point is you're building an argument. Right, so point. One way that the Manchurian Crisis weakened the league was, okay, what would be your point here? Give an idea. Okay, so here's mine. So one way the Manchurian Crisis weakened the league was that the events showed that they were slow and unable to control the world. Okay, so there's my argument. Now, what evidence can I give to back that up? Think about maybe Lord Lytton was the example of slowness. Okay, over to you. So here's what I've gone for. For example, Japan invaded Manchuria in September 1931, and it took until April 1932 for Lord Lytton to begin investigating the invasion. Also did not publish a report until September 1932. So very slow and not able to control the world, of course. So now you need an explanation. So pause and give it a go. What's the impact of this? Yeah, okay, got an idea. So what about this then? This week in the league because their slowness meant that by the time the Lytton published a report, the state of Manchukuo had been announced under a puppet leader controlled by the Japanese. Therefore, the Japanese refused to leave Manchuria as they had full control. Yeah. So now what about a furthermore? Is there a further impact of this slowness? And how else has this weakened the league? Have a think of an idea then. So here we go. Here's my idea. So furthermore, it also led to the league lacking key powers around the world as Japan had left the league now. This left the three permanent members of Italy, France, Britain, who were all based in Europe, and due to the Great Depression, did not have the money for expensive military campaigns around the world. This left Japan free to attack the rest of China. Okay. Now we can also, if you want to, of course, start to think about Italy, of course, and what example this sets to Mussolini, and then the Abyssinian crisis. You can start to think about that, of course, as well. Now there needs to be a second idea. So of course you can have a go at a second idea. You could talk about, of course, the league being generally weakened in the world and the impact. You could start linking to Abyssinia and Italy if you wanted here. In that idea. Of course, the first paragraph has already explained two really successful ideas, but you can try and get a furthermore, as I said, with the example of Italy and Abyssinia. You could do the whole argument here, of course, of permanent members misbehaving, which would link nicely to Italy, as you can see there. Well, I hope you found that video useful and you're now a bit more confident about the writing account question, and in particular, the impact the Manchurian Crisis had on the League of Nations and its decline in the 1930s. So do look out for more videos on the way, but it's bye for now.